Hey everyone, we just got the very first set of balance changes pushed to the beta branch, so I figured I'd give a little bit of a patch rundown as well as some thoughts about my feelings about some of the changes. We're going to go ahead and jump right into Ironclad and just start with some of the card changes. So, Dominate has been reworked. It now applies 1 to 2 vulnerable and gains 1 strength for each vulnerable on the enemy exhaust. The difference from this before was that it did not have the vuln application. So basically, you would have to have vulnerable on the enemy already, making it super draw order reliant. This kind of fixes its main problems while also giving it a very high ceiling. So extremely welcome change. I've already picked this a few times and like it. It's an okay card. I don't think it's like amazing or anything, but definitely something you can actually take now. Okay, Expect to Fight has been reworked. Expect to Fight says cost 2, 1 upgraded, gain energy for each attack in your hand. You cannot gain additional energy this turn. This last sentence was added on. So before you could play Expect to Fight multiple times every turn and go infinite with it, what they tried to do is basically make this a once per turn limit. So you're going to get a burst of energy, but then have to go to 0 and not be able to continue your turn. I think really, really welcome change. Okay, rework Spite. Cost 0, deal 5 damage. If you lost HP this turn, hits 2 to 3 times upgraded. So there's a few changes on this card. Initially, it dealt 6, and if you lost HP, it would draw a card. So the number has been changed to 5 and now hits multiple times. This is kind of strength payoff, but only if you've lost HP. Much more difficult card to take. I think, honestly, they could have kept this at 6 damage and done it. It just feels a little weird, kind of like a worse anger. I guess if you're really desperate, you have a bloodletting in the deck or something, then you can take it, but it feels like you're not really able to build like life loss stuff. If you have the power that makes you lose HP every turn, definitely going to be a lot better. So there's a few niche situations. Overall, I like the fact that they're like removing draw off of random stuff on the character, especially 0 cost draw, but I don't love this card. I don't think it's very strong. Okay, rework Stoke. Still cost 1. This no longer upgrades to cost 0. And it says exhaust your hand, add 1 random card into your hand for each card exhausted. Upgraded, it will add upgraded cards into your hand. This is only from Clad card pool. Whenever something says random, it is referring to the card that it is from, or the character that the card is from. I think this card is just like unpickable now. Notably, Stoke does not exhaust, so I guess this can like cheese a boss if you see it and you just have nothing in the deck to actually beat it and you just need to roll for random stuff. It can do that, but overall, the function of exhausting your hand and adding random stuff back into it doesn't accomplish going any sort of deck thinning. I think like a better direction for this would be to just say exhaust your hand, full stop. A card that says 0 energy, exhaust your hand is still a very good card in this game. Which would have been fine. But I guess, again, they're trying to kill infinites. This is a way to do it. I think they just ended up making a card that is like never going to see play, which I don't really love. I wish that they would sort of rework it into something maybe more niche that you could take, or just maybe not have this exhaust your hand function whatsoever. Okay, maybe the most tragic of all the changes, Silence. Reworked Prepared into Prepare. Skill cost 1, discard 2 cards, next turn gain 2 to 3 energy. So Prepared used to draw, it no longer draws. It used to cost 0, it now costs 1. It generates energy next turn, so it's kind of like Outmaneuver from the old game, but triggers discard synergies. Later down below, there is more balanced stuff with all of these characters in their new cards. I don't know why they split them up like in the way they did, but yeah, basically a lot of Sly cards got nerfed, so they kind of hit one of the main Sly enablers as well as the Sly payoffs. I feel like you probably could have done one or the other. They just kind of made Prepared into a clunky thing that I just don't really like anymore. This is, again, probably basically like a never pick card. Yeah, just weird outmaneuver. Okay, Regent. Reverse Glow. Gain 1 to 2 stars. Draw 1 card. Next turn, draw 1 card. So they split the draw over 2 turns. Really cuts down on the alignment stuff, but also cuts down on any sort of like small looping payoff. This card is like pretty bad now. I think like oftentimes you'd rather just like play Venerate. I guess if you need a little bit of draw consistency next turn, you can pick it. It smooths out your draw cycles, but overall much harder card to pick. Hitting cash is probably just going to be much better if you want cards. I think the character's probably ending up just going to be being played much slower and more block focused, maybe more stuff with the blade. I've already been picking the blade cards a little bit more just as a boss solve, but I think now stuff like Bulwark is going to be extra premium. There's not a lot of cards that really draw on Regent in general, so you don't have a lot of options. I think you're most of the time going to end up just trying to value pile and play fights more slowly. Okay, colorless cards. Reworks Hidden Gem. Skill costs 1. A random card in your draw pile without replay gains replay 2 to 3. The main change was that before you could stack replay on the same card. So if you had like a card, for example, the card on Regent that gives gold, you could stack this infinitely to make infinite gold. And kind of break it. So it lowers the ceiling on it, but I think overall this is just a way to stop people from stalling, which I am definitely all for. Okay, enemies, rework Doormaker, beware. They didn't describe what this is. I've played against the Doormaker now. Has a new mechanic where if you draw 10 cards, it eats your 10th card and puts it in your discard pile, and he gains 2 strength. So you sort of get this like weird drawdown effect. This does punish you for start of turn draw. So there's going to be turns that you just draw 4 cards, which is obviously really difficult. Turn 1, he cannot take any damage, and then he immediately turns into the door to turn 2 and starts hitting you pretty hard. So much, much harder fight. Rework Skulking Colony to have a deadlier moveset. This is the coral guy in Act 1 that takes a limited amount of damage per turn. We will get to exactly what those changes are. Basically, he now only takes 15 damage per turn instead of 20 and has a max HP of 79 instead of 84. So you kind of have to sit in that fight for a very long time. It's a block check, and I believe that he hits harder as well. Some of the numbers down below that we'll get to it. Okay, Ancients. Added Niao's Blessing, Hefty Tablet. Choose 1 of 3 rare cards to add to your deck. Add 1 injury to your deck. I like rare cards at Niao, and choosing them since I think it's going to let you have more interesting runs. Overall, pretty welcome change. Rare for Curse, I guess, is pretty similar to what you could get in Spire 1. So this is something we're kind of familiar with and its value. It's not a very strong early game option most of the time, especially if the rare card bricks and you just end up with a curse. You kind of need to have a safer map. We can talk about that on a different day while I'm not just talking about rundown stuff. Okay, added new Niao's Blessing, Niao's Talisman. Upgrade 1 of your strikes and 1 of your defense. Overall, probably pretty solid. Nice variation of stuff, but just a relatively boring, consistent early game option. Okay, balance. All relics in the shop now cost 25 gold less. Huge, huge, huge change. Massive, massive, massive that you can actually walk into a shop and buy relics. I love, love, love this. Okay, relics that generate gold, such as Bowler's Hat and Amethyst Aubergine, no longer appear at the merchant, which is super good. This was something that I think was mostly also true in Spire 1, except for maybe the fish, I think. But yeah, overall, I think this is very welcome. Oftentimes, you're never going to be spending gold in these things. It just means you see less duds and shops feel better, along with the thing that's above this. Okay, Gloom Ascension now affects question mark rooms. Power values can no longer stack above a very large number. You can no longer acquire epic and daily or custom runs. Certain character stats no longer update in daily or custom runs. Most of these I'm just skipping over because they're not very relevant to us. Let's go ahead and get to balance stuff. Okay, Ironclad, break card buffed. Energy cost decreased from 2 to 1. Damage increased from 20 to 25 to 20 to 30. So the upgrade's better and the card is cheaper. This is the ancient only Ironclad card. I think this is way more playable. 2 energy bash to have that effect is not great. This is sort of 1 energy massive carnage. So this is going to be a very, very strong card now. Overall, like this a lot. Okay, buff Cinder card. Damage increased from 17 to 18. And the upgrades go from 22 to 24. Overall, damage is not the problem with this card. The side effect of Cinder says that you randomly exhaust the top card of your deck. That is the problem with it. The number would have to be really big to make me want to pick this. I think overall this changes nothing. Buffed Fight Me card. Self-strength gain from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4. Overall, again, the problem with this card is that it gives the enemy strength. So I'm probably not picking this very often. Yeah, doesn't really change much. Maybe you can pick it if you're just rushing the enemy down, which is something that Clad really does now, especially when you don't have easy access to infinites. But I really do think that you're still going to end up doing bloodletting pommel strike stuff basically every run. And that's not really addressed here. So I don't think they've really fixed the issue with Clad. It feels like Clad just sort of lost a lot of identity and feels very confused to me. Maybe we'll see how that changes over time. Nerf Forgotten Ritual card, now exhaust. This was the energy generating card that generates if you've exhausted a card in the same turn. Exhausting, perfect, helps fix some of the problems. I think this is a very welcome change. Buffed Hemokinesis, Damage increased from 14 to 15, and the upgrade from 19 to 20. This is basically just unchanged from Spire 1 now instead of being nerfed. Pretty welcome change. It was not a super great card in this game already, so pretty happy to see it. Buff Tremble. Vulnerable increase from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4. This is super, super big. This actually makes this card pickable now. Unfortunately, Tremble does not exhaust, which I kind of wish it would. But this is something you actually can pick early game and not feel super bad about now. Spending 1 energy to get an extra turn of Vul now feels lots better. Okay. Here's a lot of the meat and potatoes of the patch. Silent. Nerfed Anticipate card. Dexterity decrease from 3 to 5 to 2 to 3 instead. This, I think, doesn't kill the card, but makes it a lot harder to pick. It didn't feel like I was really picking it in a lot of spots anyways. You kind of want a lot of draw. Maybe backflip an Acro in your deck or something for this to feel good. Overall, it's fine, but nothing crazy. Okay. Nerf Corrosive Wave. Poison decreased from 3 to 4 to 2 to 3. Overall, I don't think this really changes that much. When this card is going to be good, it's going to be good. It's still going to output a lot of damage, and you're not really picking this for like short fights anyways. You're kind of picking it for boss fight damage. Overall, pretty welcome. I think this was a bit overtuned anyways. Okay, Nerf Flick Flack card. Damage decreased from 7 to 9 to 6 to 8. So 1 damage off the base and off the upgrade. And here is where we're going to start getting into nerfing a lot of the sly payoffs and some of the energy cheating, since prepared into these things was a big way you could cheat the energy cost. Overall, this is still a pickable card, but yeah, definitely a lot worse. And you'll start to see, again, a lot of these things that were surrounding prepared, and the reason why prepared was so good, they've also been nerfed, which kind of double hits the archetype. And I think puts us more into Spire 1 style, like Feet Fumes plans, just block everything. Which maybe some people like. I would like discard to still feel good. I think you're going to have runs where you get Acro and Tactician and it's going to be fine. But prepared was like the main enabler, and losing that bridge card really hurts. Buff Grand Finale and damage decreased from 50 to 60 to 60 to 75. I don't think Finale needed this. It was perfectly fine. Maybe with prepared nerf, that feels fair, but I think Finale is like totally okay. Okay. Pinpoint nerf. Damage decreased from 17 to 22 to 15 to 19. This was pretty needed. This card's really strong. I still think it's really strong. You're just cheating energy and playing this for 0. Still a thing you're going to pick up very often, but prepared being not a 0 cost card makes it harder to play. And Anticipate was another card that made this easier to play that's also nerfed. So the stuff around Pinpoint is nerfed that makes it enabled, and also the numbers are nerfed. We'll have to see how it plays. I think it's going to be significantly worse, but still gets in the deck fairly often. Buff Skewer. Damage increased from 7 to 10 to 8 to 11. This is a very, very big upgrade for Skewer. A lot of thresholds here, and Vuln rounding matters. It's, I don't know, not super exciting. I don't love Skewer as a card, but definitely something now you can actually pick up instead of completely ignoring. The upgrade's really strong, doing just 33 damage on it. It's like quite solid. Okay, nerfed Untouchable. Block gain decreased from 9 to 12 to 7 to 9. This is a pretty big nerf, but overall, I think if you're able to consistently land Untouchable, that this is just going to be something you're still going to want. It's kind of just deflect, but bigger number. And having a bigger number on the card is just, really good. I don't think I need to explain why that's the case. Yeah, still a very pickable card, but overall, I think the whole package being nerfed means that Acro is going to lead to less payoffs, which leads to more interesting decisions, I think. Prepared, I don't know if it needs to be nerfed in the way it was. I think it already kind of needed the upgrade, and just sort of feels clunkier, and like it's harder to get into this archetype anyways. I think you can hit all the payoffs without hitting all the enablers and have it still be totally fine. Not a huge fan of the prep nerf. Everything else I'm pretty okay with. Okay, Regent. Nerfed alignment cards. Star cost increased from 2 to 3. This is an energy generating card. It makes it harder to go infinite. I think this card was already not crazy if you were not doing infinite style stuff, and they nerfed glow, so probably didn't need to hit both. Either way, not insane. Doesn't probably move the needle very much. Okay, Change Be Gone. Now a skill that no longer deals damage. Now creates Minion Strike instead of Minion Dive Bomb. Minion Strike is the card that says 0 energy draw on it. And Minion Dive Bomb, I think, also now has been changed. We'll get to that later on. But it's basically not a damage dealing card now that it was. It was like a 4 damage common that made a card that deals like 13 or something. It doesn't do that anymore. It's kind of just deck thinning from your hand that also draws. So you can sort of filter out some of your bad cards, maybe have some slow scaling for the boss. Pretty pickable, but nothing crazy. Buff Bundle Joy card, energy cost lowered from 2 to 1. I don't think this changes anything. This card is still bad. It just makes a bunch of colorless cards in your hand that you can't play. I don't really think this is something you ever want. Okay. Change Charge card. Now creates minion dive bomb cards instead of minion strike cards. So this is something similar to the Begone thing. It's sort of flipped. Instead of giving you draw in your deck, it now just gives you 0 cost minion dive bombs that deal 13, I think. So lots of damage in the deck, but no longer actually actively thins your deck and draws you closer to more stuff. So is still slow scaling in like long fights, but definitely way worse. You can sort of think about this as just like deck thinning with like delayed damage in a fight, which for elites is going to be really strong. For hallways is definitely much worse. Okay. Buff Collision Course card, damage increased from 9 to 12 to 11 to 15. That's a huge number. The upgrade being so much better makes this card a lot more pickable. This was a 0 cost damage common that gives you a debris in your hand, but the number being 11 to 15 is huge. Just being able to upgrade that for 15 is massive. This is much more pickable. Something you're probably happy to see actually now. Buff Gather Light card. Block increase from 7 to 10 to 8 to 11. I don't know that this needed buffs at all. This was already a very good card. So now it's just crazy. Gets clicked basically every time you see it and glows nerf. So this is a really nice star generating card that now just blocks for a lot on a character that really struggles to block. Okay, buffed Heirloom Hammer card. Damage increased from 17 to 22 to 20 to 25. Again, the problem with this card is not the numbers. The numbers would need to be really big to want to pick this. This is like a 2 damage card that, 2 energy card that deals some damage and clones a colorless card in your hand. Often you just don't have a target for that, and you can't like clone a sword and play the sword in the same turn. It's just really weird. I don't really think this card is getting picked ever from this. They need to just change what it does, or change cost or something to make it more pickable. All right, buffed I Am Invincible card. Block increased from 9 to 12 to 10 to 13. Kind of doesn't move the needle as much as something like Gather Light. This is a rare, and overall is not something you really want to be doing with your rares anyways. It's just a really boring like 1 energy block card that upgrades to 0 sometimes. Not really. Yeah, just really strange. Okay. Buffed Kingly Kick card, damage increased from 24 to 30 to 27 to 35. I think this card's still kind of awkward, but definitely more pickable now. Slow boss scaling. It costs 3 the first time you draw, and then obviously you can decost it on future deck cycles. I think the more interesting thing is this buffed Kingly Punch card instead, which says base damage has been increased from 8 to 8 to 8 to 10. So your upgrade actually does increase the base damage, and the scaling damage has increased from 5 to 6 instead of 3 to 4. So what this actually does mean, though, is that when you do draw this card, the first time it's just innately buffed to deal 12 damage unupgraded, and upgraded deals 16. So I actually think this is a really solid damage card now early game, and especially for like killing the boss, it's gonna scale pretty quickly. It's kind of Rampage is actually good and can work with some other packages in the character, and I like that a lot. I think this like top deck manipulation thing needed a little bit of help, and I think this is a very good start to enabling that. Okay. Buffed Minion Dive Bomb, energy cost decreased from 1 to 0. We kind of talked about that earlier. Nerf Minion Strike card, damage decreased from 7 to 10 to 6 to 9. That doesn't really matter very much. The biggest thing is that this was removed off of charge, which is the main way you're getting it. Okay, buffed Parry card, block increased from 6 to 9 to 8 to 11. Still doesn't change very much. You're playing the sword once a turn at that, and probably not more. And you're also not playing it every single turn. So not a really great block engine. Still a bad card. I think just needs a little bit of reworking, or the number has to be really big. Maybe if you see it come upgraded, it can be clicked, but overall not amazing. Buff Patter card. Block increased from 8 to 10 to 9 to 11. This number is just really big. I think this is a very solid block comment. I was already kind of picking this sometimes to survive hallways, so it probably gets in the deck fair a bit more. You're going to try not to pick it, but if you need to, it's there for you and doesn't feel as bad. Okay, buff Solar Strike card. Damage increased from 8 to 9 to 9 to 10. This card was already good, so I don't know why it was buffed. Pretty good star generator. One of the better ones now, especially since Goal has been nerfed. So yeah, really solid card. Don't think this needed that at all, but hey, use it while you can, I guess. Buff Spoils of Battle card. Forge increased from 10 to 15 to 12 to 17. It's not really the problem with this card again. It's trending in the right direction, but I'm not sure this is enough. just Forge with like nothing else attached to it is not great. You can really just think of this as 3 energy deal 20, which is not good. Um, 22 does not make the difference, is what I'm getting at. Okay, nerfed Void Form card is now Ethereal. Upgrade change from +1 card to losing Ethereal. This is not a nerf, guys. This is something we learned from Echo Form. You don't want to play Void Form in hallways. Now it gets out of the way, and you don't have to redraw this. So in the boss fights, you're going to do anything you can to play it no matter what. You're not going to wait till the second deck cycle. It is just a buff. They think it's a nerf. It's a buff. I'll just tell you that. Okay, buffed Rotten War card. Forge increase from 5 to 7 to 7 to 9. More pickable. I think some of the Forge cards just get picked to kill bosses, and this does help you actually scale it a bit faster. So not the worst thing ever, but not really moving the needle a ton. If you need it, you need it. You're going to pick it anyways. Okay, Necrobinder. Nerf Banshee's Cry. Cost increase from 6 to 9, upgrades to 7. The upgrade no longer increases its damage. So this is a much harder card to put into play in like the first cycle of a deck. And there's some other context, like Defy being nerfed that we'll get to that makes this a bit worse. Overall, I don't think you're picking Banshee's Cry for front-loaded damage ever. You were never like relying on it to be played in your first deck cycle, but not being able to play it easily in the second deck cycle either is also kind of weird. You kind of need to play like 4 to 5 cards, and I probably don't want to upgrade this. So 4 to 5 ethereal cards. I don't know how often that happens. Probably not super often, but if you need slow scaling damage in a fight, it's still there for you. I think it still serves the similar function and is getting picked in similar spots. Not as broken as it was before, but yeah, it's still doing the same job it really needed to. Okay, nerf Borrowed Time card. Self-Doom increased from 3 to 6. The energy gain no longer increases on upgrade. The upgrade instead decreases the Self-Doom. This still does go infinite with Captured Spirit, which we'll get to in a second tier, but does not go infinite with Dirge, and Dirge has also been nerfed to Exhaust. So a much harder card to pick. I think if you're just trying to pick a card to put something expensive into play, this is also just worse. Like sometimes you were not picking Borrowed Time because you wanted to go infinite with it. You were just picking it because you wanted a card that generated 2 energy. So I think they could have kept something similar or just increase the Self-Doom and make the upgrade still increase energy and just nerf the ways you can go infinite with it. I'm not really sure, but it feels like it has much less of a niche and is just kind of like Wisp, which is also just a bad card. So weird. I guess if you have Capture Spirit, then you'll just go infinite with this thing anyways, but they made it a little bit harder to do that, and it's just a harder card to pick up early. Okay, nerf Capture Spirit. HP loss decrease from 3, upgrade to 4, to 2 to 3, which doesn't really matter at all. The bigger thing is that the souls generated decrease from 3 to 4 to 2 to 3. So unupgraded, you can't really go infinite with this in just 1 borrowed time. You need to upgrade Captured Spirit in order to actually redraw your stuff. So you still can do the infinite, even though borrowed time is 1 energy. Unfortunately, it also means that Captured Spirit is going to take longer to kill the enemy during your infinite, so you're going to be sitting there doing it for longer. I recommend getting console commands and just hitting the kill all button to not have to sit there and do that. So, okay. Buff Dance Macabre card, block increase from 3 to 4 to 4 to 6. I don't think this fixes the problem at all. There's just not expensive cards that I'm like playing a lot, and the payoff is just not really worth it. There's just other ways to get block on this character in a much better way. Buff Debilitate card, damage increase from 7 to 9 to 10 to 12. I don't think this card needed that at all. You were never really picking it to deal damage, but now you can just sort of pick it up early before you see stuff. And before that was not really a great idea. But yeah, the effect of Debilitate doubling weakness is just kind of crazy, so I don't think it needed it. The biggest reason I think for this was because Defy has changed. The upgrade no longer increases the weak duration and increases the block by +3 instead of +1. This is something you probably don't need to upgrade now. It's probably still going to be a very good early card, but just definitely not as busted as before, and it's going to be very hard for Necro to actually chain weak on the enemy, which is probably a good thing. There's no card that doesn't exhaust on this character that weakens for more than a turn now. So yeah, it's going to be a bit harder to keep weak chain and actually scale up Aussie to be really, really big, but I think overall it's probably a welcome change. Okay, nerf Dirge card now exhausts. So yeah, you're not doing Dirge infinite stuff anymore. The upgrade on Dirge is going to feel worse because you're only getting to play it 1 time. Overall, I don't think this really changes anything. You're just going to have less degenerate runs that are just going infinite with Dirge in 1 card. That's fine in my book. I think it's still a decent card that you can pick. Change Grave Warden card, upgrade charge, change from 10 or 8 to 10 block to 8 to 11 block, and no longer upgrades the soul. Kind of just fine. I wasn't upgrading this a ton anyways. Still a very, very solid card that's just going to get picked and not need the upgrade now, which I'm fine with. Buff Sculpting Strike card. Damage increase from 8 to 11 to 9 to 12 instead. Pretty solid upgrade, actually. Not as in the upgrade itself, but you have to realize that the Doom this is applying is also getting increased by 1. So this flat upgrade is really a buff by 2 damage. And obviously if it becomes green, it can be much more solid. So yeah, much easier to pick this up in early game. Nerf Seance card, cost increase from 0 to 1, upgrade to 0, upgrade no longer makes a Soul Plus, cuts down some infinite stuff and some deck cycling things, but is still target exhaust. Gives you a reason to actually have to upgrade this card, which I think is a very good change. It was very broken as is. So totally fine with this. Like, I think this is definitely a move in the right direction. Okay, defect. Nerfed hotfix card now has exhaust. Upgrade now removes exhaust instead of increasing focus. I think you still pick this when you want it, when you have a lot of orbs and you're cycling your deck, but you will probably need to upgrade it for long fights. You don't need to do it for hallways. The fights don't last long enough for you to really worry about redrawing it. It's still just kind of going to be good. Notably, you can't hologram it now without the upgrade, so that is something to think about. You can't just slam this early and make it good immediately. It's going to take a bit and could break you a little bit. Buffed Rocket Punch card. Cost reduction effect now lasts until it's played instead of just until the end of turn. Super sick. Not actually sure if this means that you can make a card without Rocket Punch in your hand and have it be discounted. I don't think so, but I have not tried it. Either way, very welcome change. Helps make this a lot more pickable. I think defect still has a lot of problems actually getting into this sort of archetype anyways, with like Turbo being the big one. So Turbo into Rocket Punch is probably going to be the most pickable thing. That's probably what most runs are going to look like that end up having Rocket Punch in it, and then maybe you can start going into other things, but the status package just feels kind of strange in general. Okay, Colorless cards. Buff Seeker Strike card. Damage increase from 6 to 9 to 9 to 12. Much easier to pick from Niao, so just a stronger damage card. Don't hate it, but I don't love this card in the first place for its effect. Change Discovery card. It costs 0 this turn. It's free to play this turn. The only reason for this was to make Regent able to have 0 star cost on the card. Really great. Yeah, no complaints there. Buffed Eternal Armor card. Plating increased from 7 to 9 to 9 to 12. I don't think this moves the needle a lot. If this is like green in the store because of a frozen egg, then sure, it can help you get set up, but 3 energy is a lot to put into this thing. So still don't think I'm paying for it. I think it needs a cost reduction before it gets to be something I really want. Change Hidden Gem card. Can no longer be generated in combat by effects like Skill Potion. Thank you. I don't want to be degenerate stalling, so the fact that they realized that could be a stall enabler and removed it, that is very welcome. Change Production card. Upgrade change from losing exhaust to +1 additional energy. I don't think this changes that much. It obviously kills some infinites that were very easy to get, but if you really just need energy to play your powers, still pick it up. Probably just don't need to upgrade it. But energy in this game is pretty hard to get, and I think this card's still really good. So I don't think it changes anything other than just killing infinites, like I said. Pretty welcome change. Okay, Potions and Relics. Amethyst Aubergine Relic. Gold gain increase from 10 to 15. Probably didn't really matter. I mean, it's a really strong change. You're going to be a lot more rich now, and gold matters more because relics are cheaper. So it got kind of a double buff. Yeah, like way happier to see this thing now. Buff Book of 5 Rings. Healing increase from 15 to 20. I don't think this needed this at all. But sure, you're going to notice like most of these are just relic buffs, which relics were already really strong. I think people are complaining. I don't know. Bowler's Hat gold gain increase from 20 to 25%. This one I don't think matters that much. But again, relics are already cheaper in the shop, so gold goes further. Permafrost buff from 6 to 7. Don't understand this at all. This relic was already really strong. Now it's just stronger. I don't know. I guess people complained about it. But yeah, it was already broken. Now just more broken. Buff Planisphere. HP gain increase from 4 to 5. This is the one that gives you HP when you walk into question marks. Don't think this needed it, but I guess, again, people complain and it didn't feel impactful enough. I think Sustain is really strong overall. Just getting like 12 HP in an act or something from this was already good enough. It's just doing more now. Stonecracker buffed. Now works in all combats, but only upgrades 2 cards. This upgrades 2 cards in your draw pile at the start of combats. It used to only work on bosses and upgrade 3, but that's a super welcome change. Makes it feel like less of a nothing relic. Again, all the relics are just sort of good now, which is great, I guess, but there needs to be some bricks. You need to feel bad sometimes, I think, which is something to be cautious about here. Okay, enemies. Nerfed Bygone Effigy, damage decreased from 15 to 17 to 13 to 15. This I don't think needed to be nerfed. I kind of like this guy hit you really hard. Oh well, I guess. There's some other things I'm more confused about. I'll get to it. Buff Berdana, swoop attack damage changed from 16 to 18 to 17 to 19. Totally fine. The scary thing about this guy is the multi-attack anyways. I don't think 1 damage is really moving the needle here. Change Calcified Cultist plus Toadpole encounter to Calcified Cultist plus Sea-Punk. Toadpole has like 22 HP and Sea-Punk has like 40. So this is a lot more HP to chew through. You cannot actually just like burst the Toadpole on turn 1 and kill the Cultist now. The Sea-Punk is just going to live for a while and it scales. So this is a really horrifying encounter now. I think honestly Act 1 like was already scary and now it's just more scary. Yeah, really, really terrifying fight. Okay, buffed Rocket Claw. Charge up move strength now scales with Ascension from 2 to 2 to 2 to 3. HP increase from 189 to 199 to 199 to 209. This is the boss in Act 2, I believe. So he just kind of hits harder. This boss was not very difficult as is. I think the Sandworm was way scarier, so I'm kind of happy that it's bigger and going to hit you harder. Buff Crusher Claw, which is the left one, I think. Adapt move strength now gains scales with Ascension. Wow. 2 to 2 to 2 to 3. HP increased from 199 to 209 again. So same deal. They're just kind of bigger, hit you harder, and scale a little bit faster over time. Pretty welcome. Again, I think this is not going to make it feel impossible, but is going to make it feel like a more harrowing fight, which is good. Nerf Decimillipede. HP decreased, lots of numbers here, 48 to 56 to 46 to 52. Those are the important numbers. There's a range here, but basically you can expect that it's essentially just 2 to 4 HP less. There's no longer like super tanky ones, which I think will help people. This was a pretty scary encounter in Act 2 as an elite. So they moved some of the scary things to like the boss, which I'm fine with. I don't think this was like an overly problematic fight necessarily. I kind of wish that Act 2 and 3 are still really scary, but I think a lot of people would be pretty happy with that one. Okay, Nerf Fabricator, HP value of all bots decreased by 5. I believe that this is the Act 3 hallway encounter, which that felt kind of like an elite. And so honestly, that is okay. I think that this one is fine to be nerfed. Change the Tunneler normal encounter. The Bullbug is now replaced by a Chomper that gives dazed status cards on turn 1. Chomper has a lot more HP, so pretty similar to the same thing from Act 1 that just is increasing the HP in an encounter by like 20, making the hallway much scarier. I think this is honestly welcome. I'm going to die to it probably, but I'm overall down to have more hallway fights that will actually kill you in Act 2. Nerf Living Fog encounter. Gas Bomb HP decreased from 10 to 12 to 7 to 8. Very, very nice encounter. It's really hard to block this guy in Act 1 anyways, because you can only play 1 skill per turn. So now it gives you sort of the option to actually kill the bomb, and when before it was a lot harder to do that. Like 1 damage card will kill it now. That's not like one of your base strikes, instead of basically having to sink all your damage and block on the same turn and make no progress. So that feels welcome to me. That is another fight that sort of felt like an elite. Okay, buff the Lost and the Forgotten encounter. Stat ceiling now scales with Ascension. Increase from 2 to 3 of their respective stat at a 9. Forgotten now deals an additional point of damage for every dexterity it has. This is the Act 3 encounter that steals dexterity from the right guy and the left guy. I honestly don't even remember what it does. Most of the time, I think it's just debuffing you, and it doesn't feel super scary. It feels like a nothing encounter. Maybe this will make it feel like not a nothing encounter, which I'm down for. Okay, change Nibbit now probably scales with Ascension. Smooth scales now from 2 to 3 strength on a 9. Slice move now scales from 6 to 7. And the slice block now scales from 5 to 6. Overall, welcome. Just a hallway in Act 1 that's going to feel a bit scarier now, which I'm okay with. It's not super aggressive change, but enough. Okay, Nerf Phantasmal Gardeners. These are the eels in Act 1 as the elite. HP decreased from 28 to 32, as Ascension is 29 to 33. And now it is 27 to 32. So again, 1 HP knocked off of these guys inside of Act 1. This encounter was pretty scary. And it feels similar to them nerfing the Decimillipede, of just making these overall less tanky. You're probably still going to hit pretty hard, but just decreases like the super low roll chance of you just getting super tanky ones of these and getting owned. Okay, Sea-Punk is buffed. The Sea Kick move now deals increased 11 to 12 to 11 to 13. That is pretty scary considering it's now added in a hallway fight that it was not in before. So we will see. I think Act 1 again is going to feel a little bit scarier. The hallways and the elites are going to be a little bit easier. Terror Eel, crash damage now scales from 17 to 19 to 16 to 18, so 1 damage down. And the Vigor now scales from 7 to 6, so again, another damage down from that. This guy did hit really hard and could honestly kill you pretty easily, but overall I wasn't feeling like it was too scary. Again, they're sort of just like raising the floor of the encounters in the hallways and taking some power out of the elites, it seems, overall, which again makes maybe the game feel a little more interesting. It means you can't just dodge Act 1 elites and live with it every time. The hallways are just going to kill you more often. Change test subject. Phase 2 no longer housed pounce move. Instead of repeat multi-claw move every turn. It kind of makes this just more of a damage race, which the fight already was in phase 1. So I don't think this is like necessarily changing anything or reinventing the wheel. You're kind of playing the fight the exact same. He's just going to do more damage to you, which overall, the only scary part about this boss so far has been phase 1 ever. So not too concerned with them making it hit a little bit harder in phase 2. Okay, Ancients. Buff Niao's Fury card. The number of cards returned to your hand now upgrades from 2 to 3. I don't think this changes much. I don't think this effect is very good. And it's just kind of a strike that pulls back random stuff to your hand. I don't really care about it. Nerf Niao's Leafy Poultice. Blessing's max HP loss increased from 10 to 12. This is the Transform 2 relic. Overall, this doesn't really change anything. Max HP loss here is not cutting into your actual HP still. So it doesn't move the needle at all. Still the best one. Still broken. Nerf Niao's Precious Shears. Blessing self-damage increased from 13 to 16. This is remove 2. That is a huge hit. Taking 3 actual damage at the start of the run for remove 2, it was already sort of scary. Now it's just scarier. I think it's okay, but there's definitely a lot more maps that you cannot justify clicking this. You will die earlier for clicking it. Changes Tank's Tri-Boomerang Relic. Instinct enchantment no longer reduces cost, instead doubles damage on enchanted attacks. So what this is doing, I think it just used to make stuff cost 1 less, and now it increases the damage on certain attacks. Overall, pretty cool. Nerf some infinites while still having some power, and can make some of your really important cards feel super big. You might get like a massive drill now, which is cool. Okay, change Vaku's Preserve Fog Relic. Cards removed now decrease from 5 to 3. Folly Curse is now ethereal. Overall, this really just is cards removed from 5 to 4, since the curse actually gets out of your deck. So overall, again, nerfing infinites. I'm okay with this. 5 removes was way too many. You're still going to pick this sometimes in a small deck. Overall, you're going to end up with small decks that do these things less, and this is going to be less good, but it's not as auto-click as it was before. Okay, some events have been changed. Dense Vegetation. I don't even remember what this did, but the option is now lose HP, gain some gold. Not super interesting. There was something very similar in Spire 1, but sure. Change Endless Conveyor events. This is multiplayer change. So it says it can no longer spawn unless all players have at least 120 gold, up from 105, and grab off the belt option cost increase from 35 to 40. You're going to have more gold anyways. So this is probably going to feel like it doesn't change anything anyways, because your relics just cost less in the store. So yeah, doesn't really do much. Grave Forgotten event can no longer spawn unless every player has a card with exhaust in their deck. Again, multiplayer fix, probably bug. Morphic Grove, again, can no longer spawn unless all players have at least 2 transformable cards in their deck. Multiplayer fix. Now collaborative events. Your option now costs all of the players gold. Doesn't really do anything for us as single player players. Spirit Grafter events. Rejection option is now lose 10 HP, upgrade a card. Sure, interesting decision. Again, something very similar to Spire 1, so we're familiar with this. It's going to have some interesting design decisions where you click it sometimes and sometimes not. I don't know. Not much to say about it. Change the round tea party events. Can no longer spawn unless all players have at least 12 HP. Again, a multiplayer bug fix, basically. Okay. Multiplayer. Nerf Beacon of Hope card can no longer be stacked. Nerf Believe in You card. Energy decreased from 3 to 4 to 2 to 3. Huddle Up card now exhaust. I'm going to gloss over these for now. If you care about that, then you now know what it does. But so far, not really anything for me. Some art has been changed. There's now phobia mode that helps people that don't like some of the gross looking enemies. I'm going to gloss over most of this. Really not a whole lot to talk about in the rest of this. I will scroll through it in case you want to read here. But most of these things have nothing to do with balance at all. I think actually all of them don't. And some bug fixes as well. Okay. So overall, I don't think that they've really fixed the problem with Clad. in general, but infinites are going to be harder to do, which I think is their main goal. I think Clad is still kind of a mess, and that's probably my main gripe. I think prepared maybe is going to feel really awkward and feel kind of bad and clunky, but overall, aside from that, kind of moving in the right direction in my opinion. Feel free to let me know in comments below how you feel about things. I will be testing this on the beta branch for a little bit, and I'm sure this will change before it gets released, but just wanted to make people aware of what the changes were, since I know this affects some of the tier lists that I've put out. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.